Welcome to another episode of Seeing Them Live, a podcast featuring memorable concert stories from live music fans. Everyone has a concert story, and hopefully, one day, we'll hear yours.
It was crazy because they posted it on the different platforms. They posted it on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. And like Instagram, I think it got like something like 56 million. I think it did even a little bit more on TikTok. YouTube did a couple, but yeah, like maybe around the 30, 40 million. Like it was wild.
Today's guest is Zach Paradis. Zach is a Cleveland-born artist now based in Los Angeles, known for blending pop, hip-hop, and R&B influences. His music emphasizes honest storytelling and dynamic production, promising listeners an engaging experience. His new track, Hurricane, showcases Zach's signature emotive vocals and thought-provoking lyrics, drawing listeners into a whirlwind of raw emotion and personal reflection. Zach made the leap to Los Angeles not just to make music, but to become the artist he was meant to be. Zach, welcome to Seeing Them Live.
Hey, thank you so much. It's so great to be here.
Yeah, and I'd also like to give a shout out to Mike at Earshot Media for setting up this interview between us. So thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.
Definitely. Thanks, Mike.
So Zach, I thought we would go kind of in order here, so to speak, touching on your concert experiences and then move to your music.
Sure. Yeah, let's do it. Sounds great.
So yeah, you were like 8 or 9 years old, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Your sister, or you hopped a ride with your sister to go to this music festival called Alive.
Mm-hmm.
3-day music festival in Mineral City, Ohio. At least that's where the most current one is. I didn't know if it was still taking place there or not.
Yeah, I think that's the actual town that it's in. There's a water park there called Clay's Park, and they kind of take over the water parks area, or at least back when I went, that's what they were doing. I'm not sure if they're still doing that, but yeah, it's kind of just like a little bit southern Ohio, I believe, because I was born and raised in Cleveland, as we were talking about. But yeah, my sisters were going. They had it all, planned out. And then I think two of their friends, at least one of their friends, backed out. And so they had this extra ticket and no one to bring except for me, who was like 8 or 9 or something like that and had nothing to do during the summer. And yeah, so that became my first like real experience. Saw a bunch of different bands. And it was fun that it was like a festival experience because very small bands and seeing bands that had like thousands of people waiting on the lawn for them and everything like that. So it was just a very cool, diverse kind of like experience. And it was, like I said, I think that was my first concert. I don't know. It's a cool way to get your feet wet.
Yeah. So you guys just went like for one day of the 3 days then?
No, we went the whole time because I remember camping. Yeah. It was tent camping. Yeah. Because it was my sister like traded off because I think one of them were free at the beginning of it. And then like, I think my sister Katie started. And my sister Laura finished it out. But yeah, it was the real deal. Yeah, tent camping, everything. Yeah, you had to like basically like, I don't know if we took showers. It's more like we just like went in the river, like kind of washed off. It was kind of grimy, honestly, when I think about it now.
Yeah, that's quite an adventure for an 8 or 9-year-old. That sounds like a real cool weekend or what have you.
Oh yeah, I was very down for it.
Yeah, I was interviewing this guy, Benny, and he said almost as important when you're that young is not just the ticket, but the ride to get to the venue or how you're going to get to the place. So that's a really cool story. Yeah, I looked up the current lineup, over the 3 days, and we'll talk about this a little bit, Zach, when we go into your music, but you worked at this place in Atlanta called a record label called Reach Records.
Yeah, correct.
And one of the recording artists, I took a look at, who they had on there, and they were playing that Alive festival.
That's crazy. Yeah. No, yeah. Yeah, you said it 1K Few, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, I do know him. That's very cool. Actually, it's kind of a crazy full circle moment. And actually, even cooler full circle moment is so I'm currently on tour with Abe Parker, a singer-songwriter based in Atlanta, Georgia. But he's from Ohio as well, grew up going to Alive as well. And maybe 5 years ago, something like that, I actually went and supported him because he played us at Alive. So that's a cool, like, little full circle moment for sure.
Yeah.
Blazing hot Ohio summer, tons of humidity. We were in this tent that felt like it was trapping the heat even more. But yeah, it was a cool little, like, I don't know, like a little not end of the chapter, but just a cool full circle moment,
Yeah. I mean, just imagine from what a great story. You, as a little kid, sitting in this tent, camping out, seeing all these bands and stuff
Yeah.
and yet interact with it again on a professional level.
Yeah.
Kind of crazy.
No, it's very cool. It would have been interesting to tell myself that when I went there as like an 8-year-old. Hey, you're actually going to come back and play this one day. Like, oh, because at that point, I didn't even have an interest in doing music professionally at that point, I was just trying to not be in school and just play outside.
Yeah, then you put down for your best concert, Zach, this Alan Stone show.
Mm-hmm. So good.
Yeah, this place is called Grog Shop in Cleveland, and it has a capacity of about 400 people, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So small club. This was 2014.
Yeah.
At least according to my sources on the internet.
No, that's when I remember going as well.
Okay. So I started reading up on it a little bit. And this music publication, Kryptonite Music Magazine.
Okay.
I forget who the journalist was, but said that was the longest set that they had ever seen performed at the Grog Shop.
No way.
So I was like, Zach, was that a good one, I guess, huh?
Yeah, I got to witness history, I guess.
Yeah. So there was I read there was this opening act, Chris Jameson. I guess he maybe was on the NBC, The Voice.
Oh, okay. I don't remember. So I think we got there a little late.
Okay.
So I think we missed part of the opener set, unfortunately, because I'm sure he was great.
Okay. Yeah. So I was, I just reading about how he brought people from the crowd, I guess, onto the stage during the encore and such.
Mm-hmm.
What was that like? What was your experience there, like in that crowd at that point?
Oh my gosh. I mean, it was just like, he is so good live because his talent just speaks volumes. Like he could get up there and sing the ABCs and it'd be great. But then his band was just like the tightest. Like they were so locked in with each other and it felt like they were just genuinely having fun. And that kind of energy is just infectious because like the whole crowd started just loosening up. Everybody's like, oh, we're just here having a good time. It's almost like he was just like throwing a party and we were all invited rather than like, yeah, being on stage and there's distance and anything like that. It felt very unified. And then also the sound was so good because he was traveling with his own front of house engineer, I think at that time.
Okay.
And my dad came and my dad's like a big audio guy. He's the reason that I kind of got into more of the technical side of music as well. I remember the whole time he's just like, who do they have running this? Why does it sound so good? But it was just like, everything was done excellently. Like the band was great. His energy on stage was great. The sound was great. The fans were ready for a good show, like very engaged fans. And he just delivered. It was so good. It was just like, it felt like you were part of like a special moment. And to this day, that is still the best concert that I've ever been to. And I've seen Alan Stone one other time, but it was more of like a solo thing. And it was still really good, but Alan Stone with a band, though, is where it's at. He crushes in that context. So good.
Cool.
Got to check him out.
Yeah. So I didn't know if you wanted to talk about this Drake show in 2016.
Sure, I'll talk about it.
Well, obviously, you must have been a Drake fan, right? Or you are.
Yeah, even still, I mean, I don't know. Last year was a tough year to be a Drake fan, so hanging on by a thread up to the Kendrick beat. No, I was, especially during that time, because it was the summer 2016 tour. I was a big Drake fan. I was living in Atlanta and he came to, I think it was the Phillips Arena. And he had Future opening up for him and a few other people on his label. I think it was like Roy Woods on OVO. But I think it was just up until that point, I'd gone to the exception of that festival. I'd gone to mainly smaller to like medium-sized shows where like, you feel like you get a good look at everybody. You get to see the sound and everything. From the moment we everything was expensive. The ticket was expensive. Getting to the arena was expensive. We had to Uber and it was, just like whatever. And it's hectic. There's a ton of people going there. But then we were just so far from the stage and like off to the side. And it's like, why did I do this? Like, this is just this is his music, but just like louder and like more echoey.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It just like, it didn't hold up. And I was going to a lot of hip hop concerts at that time. I think there's got to be a different expectation when you're going to a hip hop show because you're not capturing as much of this like unique one-time experience just because so much of it is tracks,
Yeah.
It was just, I think that wasn't even due to the fact that it was hip hop though, because I love hip hop. That and singer-songwriter, ironically, are like my favorite genres. But I think that just made me realize like, oh, stadium tours are a whole different vibe that are not quite as fun.
Yeah. Yeah. And you were saying like people are like pretty much shouting the lyrics to all the songs and you couldn't really hear performers.
Yeah, it's like, hey, do you want to hear the song that you like louder but worse? Like just a bunch of people shouting off key. But maybe I should have been like drunk or something. I don't know. Maybe I was too sober. I don't know. Probably would have been more fun the other way.
Yeah, it's definitely a different vibe at those, big venues, obviously.
Yeah.
You had a surprising thing that happened to you at a concert was you went to go see one of your friends' bands play. The bassist made a marriage proposal.
Yeah. And she said yes.
Good. Okay.
Yeah, that was great. The local band here in LA called Good Luck Kid, and a bassist player, his name is Edmund, and they had it to where like pretty much at the end of the set, they were like pausing to take a photo or something. And they're like, all right, everybody or this might have been at the end. They're like, let's take a picture of the band on stage real quick. All right, now the band and their like significant other, since they went on stage. And then he just turned around and dropped to one knee, and like she was the only one left on stage. It was great. But that was definitely surprising and a positive surprise. It wasn't like something crazy bad happened, but no, it was a great time. So shout out to Good Luck Kid and shout out to Edmund. But definitely a surprise.
What year was that? Was that just recently?
That was just last year. That was 2024. Yeah, at Hotel Cafe in Hollywood. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, best of luck to them. Well, Zach, I thought maybe, we could talk about your music a little bit here. I've got kind of a timeline. We could kind of go in order. We don't have to. We could jump around.
Sure.
But as we mentioned earlier, you worked at this record label called Reach Records. And from what I was reading, and I can't remember where I was reading this, were you a producer there or something?
I was on staff as a recording engineer. Yeah. So I was recording a ton of vocals. When I was working there was about 8 or 9 artists. So small boutique label, but doing really well for themselves. And I interned there right out of my college program because I had to get an internship in order to graduate. And I had sent out my resume to a bunch of different places in Cleveland. I was still living there, and nobody got back to me except for Reach Records. And they were the only out of state one that I had applied to. So yeah, that was all the way back in 2015. Went there and interned for 3 months over the summer. And then they offered me a job and I was like, yeah, I'll move for this. It was with music that I already been aware of and had been a fan of. And it was doing exactly what I went to school for. And I was like, yeah, I can't pass this up. So that's how I got started in the music industry in like an actual professional sense, just recording tons and tons of vocals and all hip hop. So that was fun. And like I was there. It was just funny because I love hip hop, but I'm also like this like scrawny white kid who loves like acoustic guitar, like sad music. And so I'd like get into these phases where I'd listen to a bunch of like trap, because it's also Atlanta in the 20 like teens, which is like just everything is trap. You got like Migos, Future, just everybody like coming out of Atlanta, Lil Baby. And it's like running the sound of hip hop, and hip hop is like arguably the most popular genre at the time. So just everything is hip hop. And then after a while, like I'd be doing like sessions all week for like trap stuff. I'd like just listen to like City in Color or like something on the way back home, something that's not 808s all the time, because I love 808s, but my ears are starting to hurt. So yeah, it was good times though. Good time to be in Atlanta. Grew a lot as a person, but definitely grew a lot as an engineer. And this is when I started producing. I wasn't like on staff as a producer, but just being in the rooms and being able to develop relationships with the artists, like 1KQ being one of them, and also Tadashi, WHATUPRG. And then there's a young kid who wasn't signed when I met him. His name is Holby. He's doing really well now. He would come over to my house on a weekly basis, and I was just recording him for free and helping develop his sound a little bit. And now it's cool. He's like really grown a ton. He just got off a 32 city tour or something like that, like just this past week. So he's doing well. But yeah, shout out to Reach Records. It was great. That's how I got my start, essentially.
Yeah, is that how you also then, did you start putting down your own vocal tracks then at that point too and singing?
Yeah, I was in a band when I was still in Cleveland, just with my 2 buddies. We played like 2 or 3 shows, nothing crazy, but we had a very like genuine love of just making stuff. And that got harder to keep up once, I moved away. I'm not local anymore. And so I started making stuff just kind of on my own. So I was always writing, but I wasn't always singing or vocally delivering the stuff. Ironically, before I moved to Atlanta, I was trying to rap all the time. And that stopped once I started working at an actual record label. I was like, oh yeah, that's not me. Okay, let me try singing. And I started doing that. And yeah, like I think the first song I just put out on SoundCloud, but like the first solo release I had was in 2016 after I'd been working there at Reach for about 7 months. It was also just like a great outlet for me. And I was processing a lot, like moving away from home for the first time. I was very homesick. missing all my friends, missing my family, just like navigating, adapting to a new city, different vibe, everything. So I was using music as an outlet to process a lot of sadness, a lot of like questions about like, where do we go from here? What am I doing? And also like life is great, but also life is hard. And yeah, I was 19 and then started my early 20s, and just that time of life, I think for a lot of people, but especially for me, I'll speak for myself, came with a lot of like identity questions and trying to figure out life and what I was doing. So music was the outlet for that. And yeah, I put out a little EP that has since been stricken from the record, called Half-Hearted. And it had some little bops on it, but elevated past it since then. So but yeah, it was just me trying to process a lot.
Well, that's kind of funny. Like, yeah, I'll try out this singing thing, and just, I mean, from my perspective, listening to your music, it's like, oh my God, your voice is like fantastic.
Oh, thank you so much.
Just sort of stumble onto it, like, oh, let me try this singing thing.
Well, it was definitely like, what do they say? Necessity is the mother of invention. It was like, I didn't have anybody to sing. So I started singing. The thing that got me through was that I just really liked doing it. It was very fun. And like, I come from a musical family, like all my sisters sing. Even my brother Jesse, I think, could have a great voice, but he always like just jokes his way out of it. Once like his voice will crack a little bit and then he just makes a joke. I'm like, if you work through that, you could probably have a great voice. But I just really enjoyed doing it. It was like I was an engineer and I knew how to make myself sound better than I did when I started. I think that gave me enough delusion to keep going until my actual talent could keep up with it. So it is funny because I did kind of just stumble into it, and now it's like my whole deal. So very funny how life works.
In the introduction, when I read your emotive vocal range or what have you, and I might be categorizing this incorrectly, but it's like you have a great singing voice, but then you do this, is that like a falsetto thing?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
God, I mean, I couldn't even approach that, like it's like amazing,
I appreciate that. No, that's been a really helpful tool for me, being able to flip into falsetto. And even that though, it's funny because I can't like belt sing. So a lot of times for the high notes, I'll lean into like the more vulnerable sounding, softer, like falsetto stuff. So I think I've been just leaning into weaknesses, leaning into different things that I can do, I guess, in a more unique way. But yeah, the falsetto is definitely a little weapon. That's the little Justin Timberlake influence too. I'll try to sing Cry Me a River and all that kind of stuff. Show me how to do it, Justin.
Hi, this is Doug, producer of Seeing Them Live. We're going to take a short break from this episode to hear from some of our friends.
Hey everybody, it's Ray the Roadie.
And this is Hollywood Mike
with the Rock and Roll Chicago podcast, coming to you from the Illinois Rock and Roll Museum on Route 66 in Joliet, Illinois.
Where once a week we are interviewing local musicians and singer-songwriters, and the podcast itself covers a wide range of topics, including, but not limited to, the history of rock and roll in Chicago, the current state of the scene, and the challenges and opportunities facing musicians today.
So join us every Tuesday for a new exciting episode of the Rock and Roll Chicago podcast.
Hi, I'm Jessica Ann Katina. I've always loved music and surround myself with it every day. I've sung in choirs, took digital musical classes in college, and used to work in radio. To further share my knowledge and experience with others, I created this podcast, Music Notes with Jess, in 2019. I'm so fortunate of the listener growth and hearing back from some of the celebs I discussed in past episodes. That's why now I'm ready to expand. So let's have fun taking weekly music notes of throwbacks, modern hits, and media. Thank you. Talk to you soon on Music Notes with Jess.
What was the last really great rock and roll book you read? How about a good rock and roll documentary? Well, that's why I started the Rock Talk Studio podcast, the place to go for recommendations of new rock and roll books and documentaries. Give me 20 minutes and the Rock Talk Studio podcast will get you caught up on the world of rock and roll books and docs from every possible angle and leave you with a no-doubt decision on where to spend your time and money. Want to know what to read next or which film to add to your watch list? Well, here comes all the top recommendations and hidden gems you don't want to miss. I'm your host, Big Rick. Join me for an exclusive look into what's hitting the shelves and the screens, and get ready to rock your reading and viewing list. The Rock Talk Studio podcast, your ultimate guide to discovering the best new rock and roll books and documentaries.
Hi, this is Jamie James on Seeing Them Live. We all have our first concert stories, so please share them. We'd love to hear yours.
Now, back to the show.
Zach, when I was looking at your, I'll call it a discography, I guess, your recordings,
Sure.
maybe the earliest one, you'd mentioned that 2016 recording isn't out there anymore, but I saw this one, For Real is the name of the track,
Yeah.
May 12th, 2017. So is that kind of where you started releasing?
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, that was a SoundCloud release, and then I eventually put it on Spotify. That was that summer, 2017. I did that one, and then a song called Olivia, both in the same summer. And it was kind of a foray into starting to try to do my own stuff and also like take a stronger stance in the production, like really try to figure that out. I was actually still working for real. I was working with one of the guys from Ohio who was in my band back in the day. His name is Zach Lander. He played the guitar part. What I love about that time was that we were so new to everything and everything was so exciting. Like he'd play a guitar chord progression. It's like the coolest progression ever. I would add drums. It would be like, those are the sickest drums. Everything was so new and so fresh and so exciting. We took so much pride in it because, we're doing it all from scratch. Yeah, it was just great. And like putting together songs, like the whole like structuring a song, putting them together has always been pretty natural for me. And I think there are some things in life that I overthink, and like making songs and writing, all that kind of stuff has never been one of them. It's always been pretty much just like, oh yeah, we do this and then that's the verse. And then obviously we do another melody, that's the parade. That leaves the hook, which is our catchiest part. So yeah, let's do this melody. And like, that was just a very fun time, exciting time for both For Real and Olivia during that summer in 2017. The release in 2016 was very exploratory. I didn't really promote it either. Even if I was trying to, I didn't really know how to promote anything. It was very much so just for me and for what I was processing. And then for anybody really from Ohio, my friends from Ohio who are still invested in like me doing music and stuff. But then these two songs were like, no, I'm actually like trying at this. I'm going to see if I can get better. For Real, or Olivia was also the first time I tried like really playing guitar on something. And it's like the most basic chords ever. It's like G, C, A minor. I think there's a B minor in there though. Like switching it up. But it was all exploratory. It was all fun. It was all just like seeing what could happen. And I was 20 at that point, 21. Yeah, 21.
Okay.
And yeah, fun times.
Well, like then a year later, I noticed that you released this song, or maybe a little more than a year, in October of 2018 called You Were Made for Light.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that was picked up on this TV show. They played it in an episode.
Yeah. VH1 Black Ink Crew, I believe it was Chicago, or was it New York?
I think it's Chicago, yeah.
Yeah, that was great. So shout out to Chad Pearson. Chad Pearson, who is my manager currently. He was at that time, and then we took a break, and now he is again. That's why I say currently. But he had got me connected with a sync company, and they were pitching my songs to different stuff, and this is one that caught. And it was really, honestly, like a pretty beautiful moment. I had written that song in a very vulnerable moment to a girl that I was dating at the time, very sweet girl who was just dealing with some things, and I was just trying to like encourage her, and like she was in a very low place, very dark place, and I just wanted to have this reminder, like, you're in this hard place and it feels wrong and it feels tough because that's not what you were made for. You were made for the light. You were made for good things. You were made to be living in like wholeness and all this kind of stuff. And so I'd written her this song, and then it was really cool that it got picked up because they used it on a very emotional part of the episode. And I think a lot of people who were watching the show really resonated with the song because a lot of people found me through that song. I'm on tour now with Abe Parker, and we just played a show in Phoenix. And one of the guys came up to me after the Phoenix show. I got introduced to your music through Black Ink Crew, which I thought was very funny and wild because that was also several years ago at this point. But yeah, they gave me a little shout out at the end of the episode. It was like music by Zach Paradis in the corner. And so a lot of people were able to find me. It was a really surreal moment. Also, first time having anything that I made be on TV. That's a really cool feeling. I don't know, it feels like not real, very dull. Hope it happens again.
Yeah, I was thinking just like how affirming that would be. They're putting it in an episode of this TV show. That's really cool.
And to see it like with your own eyes and be like, oh, this actually does fit. Like this actually is pretty cool in this scene, you know?
Yeah. But then, I noticed, Zach, you release songs pretty regularly, and you had this, I guess this album with, I don't know how you say, Igami?
Igami, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was in 2020.
Yeah, right before everything shut down.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're all just growing up.
And I noticed too, along with this artist, you also collaborate with at least a couple other people I saw, if not more.
Yeah, definitely a lot of people. I think that also stems from, I really like collaborating, but I think it also lends itself to what I do very naturally because I'm producing and writing with people constantly. And sometimes it just seems to make sense. Like as I'm writing a song with somebody, it's like, oh, well, what do you think if you just either stayed on the verse, or what if you took the chorus, I take the whatever, and I'm a big fan of collaboration. I think it makes the songs more exciting. And also, like, I've gotten a lot of help from fellow artists through collaborations. Like, I have a song with my friend Chung. I have a couple songs with my friend Jalen, Sean, even a few with Tadashi, who's on Reach Records. And all these different songs have really, like, helped lift my numbers up as well on Spotify. So I'm really grateful. I feel like it's happened naturally very often, and it's just fun. The new batch of music that I'm working on now has a little bit less collaborations because I'm trying to put a bit more of a stake in the ground of like, this is the Zach Paradis sound, this is what we're doing. Because that's maybe the only downside to collaborating is that unless it's a really good genre match already, it can kind of dilute your sound a little bit or expand your sound depending on your perspective. But I've noticed that my sonic characteristics have been a little bit more varied than I think I'd like them to be. I'm trying to kind of narrow them down so that people know what they're getting when they come to me. But yeah, done a lot of collaborations and been able to produce and write for other people. I have a 2-part dream. The first part is be an artist and like make a living off of that. And then the second part is keep writing songs and producing songs like forever. And doing that for other people is the way to do it. And I love being able to have an idea and then present it to somebody else and they make it larger than you. It becomes this moment rather than just this idea I had in my bedroom. So lots of pluses.
Like a natural combination of you and the other artists from what I saw on your videos. And it may be, it is your production and stuff influencing it too, but it's like seamless.
Yeah.
Like they just go together perfectly.
Yeah. That's great to hear. Yeah.
Zach, this is sort of a collaboration, I guess.
Okay. Yeah.
With what you did with these guys, Crash Adams.
Sure. Yeah.
This video, they were in Hollywood, right?
Yep.
I could see the Walk of Fame stars.
Yep. Yeah. We were right on Hollywood Boulevard.
Yeah, I guess it was funny. They're looking for somebody who can rap or whatever or sing.
Yep.
So there's a few people and they're like, nah, I don't do it. And then they come up to you. And I think you say like, nah, I don't rap, but I sing a little bit, which I thought was hilarious.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. You sing a little bit.
Yeah.
Sure.
you gotta play it off, gotta be cool. Gotta be humble.
And then, you just light it up, man, on the sidewalk with these guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got what, 26 million views?
Even more than that. It was crazy because they posted it on the different platforms. They posted it on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. And like Instagram, I think it got like something like 56 million. I think it did it even a little bit more on TikTok. YouTube did a couple, like maybe around the 30, 40 million. Like it was wild. And I had 5,000 Instagram followers at the start of it. And I went up all the way to 120,000. And a lot of people have unfollowed since that moment. But just like shout out to them for having such a platform and then choosing to share it because the visibility that it gave me was wild. So wild. And yeah, tons of growth happened at that point. And I was already putting out a lot of music. But once that happened, I was like, all right, I'm making TikToks every day. I am putting music out every like 3 or 2 weeks. I am trying to ride this train till I can't anymore. And since then, things have slowed down a little bit, but no, they gave me a huge bump. And the guys at Crash Adam, Raph and Vince, the nicest guys, super great guys, very generous with their platform. Yeah. And they've like, I'm not the only one that they've really benefited. Like they've done this with a bunch of different artists and it's really, really great of them, really generous of them. And they're killing it. They got great content, great songs, and their kindness and their generosity, I think, is what's going to ultimately keep propelling them forward because they're just solid dudes.
Yeah, they seem like really nice guys. But Zach, so your latest song is called Hurricane, right? It's available now.
Yes.
It's a song about someone you knew or know.
Yeah, no, it's kind of a sad song. It's funny because I almost like, I'll explain my perspective of it, but it's funny because I've seen people comment on my posts and they have very different interpretations of the song, like that are very different than what I had in mind when I wrote it. And I think that's so interesting. Like, cause the song, when I wrote it, was about a relationship that didn't end up working out, but it was a short-term relief in like the chaos of life. The first verse talks about how, life feels like it's just one storm after another. But like here in this moment with you, it's so quiet. And it's like you found the eye of the hurricane. It's like as soon as I step out of this door, I'll be back in like the strong winds and the rain and everything. But right now, I'm right in the calm, you know? Yeah, the song means a lot to me, but it definitely has a sad overtone. Like somebody commented, like, just waiting for a love like this to find me. And I was like, I don't know about that. I don't know if you want that. But at the same time, that made me realize, like, honestly, like I sing what I think I'm singing about, but people have totally different interpretations. And that's kind of a beautiful thing. Although I wrote it with one perspective in mind, whatever people bring to it and whatever it helps them process or whatever like they connect to and feel. Yeah, that's great. Feel that. That's happier. So, but yeah, it's the first single, working on a handful of singles and an album for this summer. Very excited. Yeah, and this is kind of like I was saying earlier, this is me putting a stake in the ground, at least for where I am currently. This is more the Zach Paradis sound. This is like the kind of stuff that I'm chasing. So very excited.
Cool. Yeah, and you're actually out on tour right now as well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I noticed you're coming to Chicago.
Yes, Subterranean. I was just going to look it up. Yep.
Yeah, I've never been there, but I've heard good things about it. Have you been through Chicago before?
Yeah, last October I played Shuba's Tavern.
Oh, yeah, okay, I've been there.
Yeah, so that was really great. Honestly, I was direct support for Kevin Chung, my friend, and we had a great show. People in Chicago are lovely. So nice. Everybody just came ready to have a good time and everybody was very positive and very friendly. It was a phenomenal show. So I'm very excited to go back. Yeah, I love Chicago. I love the Midwest in general. That's where I'm from. That's my jam.
Cool. Yeah, because it's quite a number of dates you have on this tour.
Yeah, 16 total. And we've actually already done 9 of them at this point. So we got 7 more.
Okay.
We're on a little break here for this week and we're hopping back in there.
And then, like you said, you're going to be recording more songs and stuff. And then I would imagine with this album, you would come out and support that as well. Yeah, that's the hope. The hope is to be able to play some shows and then, of course, do a bunch of social media content, just get the word out about it. But yeah, it's been so much fun to be able to go out and play these shows. And it's like an itch. Once you start doing it more, you just want to do it even more. So hoping to be able to go out and play more of my originals and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, we'll see how it all develops, but that's the hope. Cool. Yeah, that sounds great. So, Zach, it looks like we're coming up on time here. Would you like to plug something I missed or talk about something else that you want to promote or where people can find you?
Yeah, the biggest thing, I'll just give people a place to find me. It's Zach Paradis, ZACH, the best way to spell Zach. And then Paradise is just Paradise without an E at the end. I'm on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, all the whole 9 yards. And yeah, really proud of the last song I just put out. It's called Hurricane. Please go listen to that one and stay tuned for more songs dropping in the next couple months. And then this will be my first debut album that I'm working on where it's like a true album. I've done like an album before, but it was actually just a compilation of singles that I had already released. So this is the first, doing it the old fashioned, right, real way. So very excited. So yes, please just follow along.
Check out Zach on tour and check out his music. And this has been a lot of fun, Zach. Thanks so much for coming on Seeing Them Live.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Charles.
All right. Safe travels. That's a wrap for our show. I want to thank today's guests for sharing their concert stories with us. Make sure to check out our show notes at seeingthemlive.com for links to websites, photos, and other artifacts mentioned in the show. I also want to thank my producer, Doug Florzak. The theme music for the show was composed by Doug and is featured on his album, Flagstone. If you have a concert story you'd like to share on our podcast, please visit our website and click on Become a Guest in the main menu. Then fill out the form and click the Submit button. If you seem like a good fit for the show, we'll contact you via email. I guess it's time to head for the exits. We'll see you next time on Seeing Them Live.